Where am I? Looks like chapter 32 this is Tiki, and I believe this is Nemesis right there. Tiki and Nemesis. Tiki is the daughter of Zeus, to whom he has given power to decide what the fortune of this or that mortal shall be. On some she heaps gifts from a horn of plenty, others she deprives of all that they have. Tiki is altogether irresponsible in her awards and runs about juggling with a ball to exemplify the uncertainty of chance. Sometimes up, sometimes down, but if it ever happens that a man whom she has favored boasts of his abundant riches and neither sacrifices a part of them to the gods nor alleviates the poverty of his fellow citizens, then the ancient goddess Nemesis steps in to humiliate him. Nemesis, whose home is at Attic Ramos, carries an apple bow in one hand and a wheel in the other, and wears a silver crown adorned with stags. The scourge hangs at her girdle. She is a daughter of Oceanus and has something of Aphrodite's beauty. B. Some say that Zeus once fell in love with Nemesis and pursued her over the earth and through the sea. Though she constantly changed her shape, he violated her at last by adopting the form of a swan, and from the egg she laid came Helen, the cause of the Trojan War. Footers 1. Tiki, fortune, like dice and adios, personifications of natural law or justice and shame, was an artificial deity invented by the early philosophers, whereas Nemesis, due enactment, had been the nymph goddess of death and life, whom they now redefined as a moral control on Tiki. That Nemesis's wheel was originally the solar year is suggested by the name of her Latin counterpart, Fortuna, from Vortumana, she who turns the year about. When the wheel had turned half circle, the sacred king, raised to the summit of his fortune, was fated to die. The Actaeon stags on her crown announced this, but when it came full circle, he revenged himself on the rival who had supplanted him. Her scourge was formerly used for ritual flogging to fructify the trees and crops, and the apple bow was the king's passport to Elysium. 2. The Nemesis whom Zeus chased is not the philosophical concept of divine vengeance on overweening mortals, but the original nymph goddess whose usual name was Leda. In pre-Hellenic myth, the goddess chases the sacred king, and although he goes through his seasonal transformations, counters each of them in turn with her own and devours him at the summer solstice. In Hellenic myth, the parts are reversed. The goddess flees, changing shape, but the king pursues and finally violates her, as in the story of Zeus and Metis, or Peleus and Thetis. The required seasonal transformations will have been indicated on the spokes of Nemesis's wheel, but in Homer's Cypria, only a fish and various beasts are mentioned. Leda is another form of Leto, or Latona, from, whom the python, not Zeus, chased. Swans were sacred to the goddess because of their white plumage, also because the V formation of their flight was a female symbol, and because at midsummer they flew north to unknown breeding grounds, supposedly taking the dead king's soul with them. 3. The philosophical Nemesis was worshipped at Randomness, where, according to Pausanias, the Persian commander-in-chief, who had intended to set up a white marble trophy in celebration of his conquest of Attica, was forced to retire by news of a naval defeat at Salamis. The marble was used instead for an image of the local nymph goddess Nemesis. It is supposed to have been from this event that Nemesis came to personify divine vengeance rather than the due enactment of the annual death drama. Hence, to Homer, at any rate, Nemesis has been merely a warm human feeling that payment should be duly made or a task duly performed. But Nemesis, the nymph goddess, bore the title Adrastea, which was also the name of Zeus's foster nurse, an ash nymph. And since the ash nymphs and the Aranesses were sisters born from the blood of Uranus, This may have been how Nemesis came to embody the idea of vengeance. The ash tree was one of the goddess's seasonal disguises, and an important one to her pastoral devotees because of its association with thunderstorms and with the lambing month, the third of the sacral year. 4. Nemesis is called a daughter of Oceanus because of the nymph goddess with the apple bow. She was also the sea-born Aphrodite, sister of the Arrhenius. I can't say that word. Arrhenius. Erynnyes.